Hello guys, welcome to Bio 111, first short lecture video, and this is a little bit of a mixed format. Usually you will either have that whiteboard and only that whiteboard, or the PowerPoint, and sometimes I mix things up like that with the whiteboard on the left and the PowerPoint on the right. So hopefully you'll be able to learn a little thing or two from all of those different videos I'm putting out every week in those short lecture video folders. So with that being said, and since I already did the introduction of the class, the announcement and the other video that I shared with you guys on Blackboard, I want to just dive right in and talk about the characteristic of life. We will have several videos this week on that, but I just week. I just wanted to get started with the characteristic of life. So the PowerPoint slide that you're seeing here shows you a cell, a single cell, and this is an animal cell because it's round. It's not bound by a cell wall, as you learn later on. But this is the nucleus in the middle. The cytoplasm is around, and there's the membrane around. All of those terms will become familiar for you later on. So the first week or two, it's a lot of foreshadowing of what comes next in the sessions, in the lectures. So you just need to suspend your disbelief and follow along, right? And I'm going to try to emphasize what you need to focus on in your learning. So that cell here is alone, and that cell can then become a bunch of cells together forming a tissue, and that tissue here, as you can notice, is a bunch of cells stuck together. Notice how the shape of a cell change. So the shape of a cell changing is due to the interaction between the different cells, and sometimes the tissue may be plant tissue, and if it is the case, it's surrounded, bounded by walls, which means that all the cells have that rectangular characteristic shape. And then, of course, you can end up having all of those forming an organism. That organism, in this case here, the water bear, so it's called a water bear, lovingly a water bear, but the other name for it, if you want to look it up, is tardigrade. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about those little guy because they are absolutely amazing. Those, I might misspell the name, I'm not sure. Probably good. Those guys here can completely empty their body of water and dry up. And then you can put a drop of water on them and they relieve and they're alive again. It's insane, right? And to the point that scientists have tested crazy thing with that, They put them on top of a shuttle going out of space to the space station. They send them on satellites, and when they came back to Earth, they put back a little drop of water, and guess what? It came back alive. This is insane. It can sustain the vacuum of space, the radiation of the sun without the shielding of the atmosphere, and still be alive. And so it's all due to a lot of cool stuff and adaptation, but one of them that you will hear a lot about this semester, it's proteins. And we don't have the type of proteins tardigrades have to withstand those conditions, but we're working on getting them into tissues for cryogenization. All that freezing the body up for later, it's all stemming from researches on animals like tardigrade. So the water bear, really cool. And if you're wondering, oh, those are really amazing animals, probably really rare, not at all. Go outside, find a patch of moss under a tree, get a little bit of that moss, put it in water, use your microscope in your kit, look for tardigrades. You will be seeing them. They're really small, so it might be hard for you to find them on the microscope, but they are there. They're all around us in moss. They're all in moss under trees. If one of you guys can find it, you can use an iPhone as well to make a microscope. There's some YouTube videos or Google. You can Google how to make a microscope from your iPhone camera. It's really possible. And you can just use that as well. If you find some, take pictures and send it around. Okay, so those characteristics of life, all organisms have also DNA. This is a molecule of DNA here. Then proteins that are stemming from DNA being translated and then transcribed and then translated, transcribed into mRNA, translated into proteins. We'll talk about that process later in the semester. Those proteins fold, and we'll talk about that process as well later in the semester. I warn you, it's a lot of foreshadowing. And all those proteins got together, and you can see them everywhere in all of those foods. And it's not only proteins for some of the food here, it's carbohydrate, and sometimes it's cellulose as in those pages. And we learn about all of that this semester, do not worry. So, share characteristic, life is organized. We're going to start with that one in this video, and we'll just focus on that one. So the organization of life, this is the big diagram. And so what I want you to notice here is there is a lot of steps, right? There are a lot of steps. Atoms, molecules, organelle, cell, tissue, organ system, organism, population. And I'm just going to, really quick, I'm going to pause, write them down on the board here, and then okay, so getting like that diagram here is the same as the one on the slide, and it's confusing because it's all going all over the place, but it's another way for me to introduce to you the idea of concept maps that you're working on this week. Concept maps don't have to look the same all the time. We can make different arrangement. Here, of course, the arrows are all the same compared to the slide. It's just put in different order, right? And so it's all gradient between atom and biosphere, right? And that gradient in life, from less complexity to more complexity, like organization, it's true of everything. Like, take an example, a simple example to convince you that there are gradients everywhere. Take the atmosphere. The atmosphere is not stopping at one particular point in space. It's not like, oh, you get off Earth and then you have less and less oxygen, and at some point, boom, no oxygen. It's a really gradual diminution of concentration of gases, leading to the absence of them or the really low concentration of them. But it's not, there is no line. And in life, nothing is bounded as strictly demarked as it can be shown in diagrams, right? It's always a gradual change, always a gradual change. Remember that, it's true of everything. It's true of opinion, it's true of thoughts, it's true of life, of everything. Okay, so with that being said, going through the different steps here, the atom, as you can, you learn all of those in the PowerPoint, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just want to show you rapidly the different steps. The atoms come into molecules, molecule of DNA in that case. Then those molecules can be organized into organelles. So not that the chloroplast here is made of DNA, it's just the chloroplast here. It has DNA in it, but all of that, this is phospholipid bilayer, granum, thylakoids, all of those you will learn in week, I think it's in week 11 for those of you in 16th semester, or week 6 something for those, 5.2 for those in the 8-week summer. So the chloroplast here come into a full cell and with a lot of different organelles. So the cells then are organized into tissues, which is a bunch of cells. This is a side cut of a leaf. So you see all the phloem tubes that are creating the flow of life in the trees. In the plants, this is a simple leaf, so you have the cuticle, the upper one, the lower one, with the stroma. You learn about all of that later. And then those become organs, as in that leaf. And then the organism, the organ system is the upper part of a tree. And I mentioned upper part because right after we talked about after organ system, which will be like the tree trunks and branches and leaves, that's the full tree. The individual organism includes the roots. And there's a really important part of that is, in trees, it might not be the biggest part, but if you think of mushroom, the emerge part of a mushroom, the little thing that we eat, the cap, it's only the sexual organ of the mushroom. The mycelium is the most important part of the mushroom. It's the underground part and can be really vast. You have myceliums on Earth that are billions of tons. Not kidding, look it up. Mushrooms mass is all in the mycelium. It's huge. But we only see the tiny part that we eat that's outside. So that's an organ. And that's what I wanted to talk about here, emphasize the fact that not all the steps have to be followed to the letter. Let's take an example, the bacteria, the example on top here. That's a bacteria here with all the flagellum, all the little hairy part. This is a single cell organism. So you went from cell to organism directly. And you bypassed all of those steps because some organisms are single cell. Some organisms are multicellular, but they still don't have organs. Like that mouse here, you see the sexual reproductive parts coming out and the non-sexual reproductive part here. That doesn't have an organ system, but it's still an organism. It doesn't have a lot of cells. You have a really weird organisms that are composed of tissues. So they don't have organ system, it's only a bunch of tissues, the jellyfish being a really good example. And then, of course, you have us, that is a complex organism as any other animal on the planet, or as trees. We have organ system, and we go through all the steps. But the steps have been put there just to show you the complexity. It doesn't mean everything has to be followed to the letter, so keep that in mind. Right. And then the last couple of steps, to population, it's a bunch of organisms together, to communities, which is a bunch of different population of different types of organisms or different species of organisms together, and the ecosystem, which then includes all the abiotic, so all the rocks, weather, ground, soil, all of that. And those ecosystems then form the biosphere. So I'm going to leave it there for that first lesson, and we'll dive into a little bit more depth later on. See you next time.